All right, so here we are, guys, back at it again. Whole Shot Power Sports, but this time a 2023 Kawasaki Z900. Where does this thing fit in? Do I prefer it over an MT10? Is it fast? How's the power delivered? Let's go for a ride and find out. Hard, bro! All right, 2023 Kawasaki Z900. Another naked for you guys, except this time in the form of a 900cc inline 4. Nice little first bender here, seems nice and easy. It's a pretty big bike. First 30-second impressions on this thing, same as most nakeds. I personally feel like a little cramped up, like the seat's just too far forward. That's just my thing on these naked bikes. It is what it is. It's not like anything wrong with the bike if you're a little bit shorter. I'm just used to being, I guess, a little bit further back with my butt. I feel like all of these want you to have a little bit more closer to the tank and a little bit straighter up, and that's, you know, I'm just not used to it. So not a bad thing, not a good thing, just kind of a thing that it is. And I know you guys can't see it as I'm riding around, but if you look, there's a nice deep slope in the tank, nice slope to the seat with actually a big slope right here that holds you in place. When you're sitting on this bike and you're actually getting on it, you're not moving around, which is beautiful because this bike does pull very hard. This thing has inline 4 power. Look at that. It's easily revvy. It takes a little bit of throttle movement. It makes the bike feel really light for as heavy as it is. This thing's almost 500 pounds, but it feels really snappy because it has a decent amount of power and it has a pretty decent amount of torque too. Hey, did I mention? Don't forget to subscribe. It really does help. Going through here, 3,000, 4,000 RPMs, nice and smooth. The bike is balanced. I don't think this bike is upset in any way, shape, or form. This particular bike has a quick shifter, which we will mess with a little bit later. But slow speed stuff, the bike seems to handle very well, man. 2,000, 3,000 RPMs. We're kind of just cruising along here. Nice and easy. We're gonna go on the opposite side of the road for a second just because that's stopped and blocked. But, you know, it has very nice manners through all of the slow speed stuff. 2,000 RPMs, 4th gear. It's not upset, it's not shaky, it's not vibrating. I don't feel much in the tank, I don't feel much in my feet, I don't feel much in my hands. Like a slight little teeny buzz, just enough to tell you that it's on. But we're going 3,000 RPMs, 5th gear, and it's happy. 30 miles an hour in 6th gear, and it's responding, it's not lugged. We're perfectly cruising right here. It's a 4-cylinder. It still wants to rev. I know it wants to rev. High horsepower bikes handle slow speed stuff very well. I think the bike is very well balanced. I think that it has a lot of suspension travel. Most upright nakeds have a lot of suspension travel and they're very cushy, and this is no different. I would say this is a little bit more firm than the Trident that I rode before. One thing that I usually talk about as I'm out riding, but for some reason I didn't today, is this clutch lever. It is very, very light. It is a 1-finger clutch for sure. It grabs correctly, it grabs middle of the way, it has a nice feel to it. It's just a very light clutch pull, which is fine, but I prefer to have a little bit more resistance. Doesn't take away from the bike, just something that I noticed. We'll say this, that this tank is like 1,000 tank, man. It's like big and bulky. Most of the times, most of the nakeds that I've ridden are, you know, a little bit smaller, less, not demanding, but have less of a presence as a motorcycle underneath you. And this bike has that big bike presence. So you're on it and you're looking at it, you look down at the tank and it's a big honking tank. So it has a presence underneath you because it's a big 4-cylinder. Oh yeah. Also, I don't know if you guys can see it right there, but we got 4 headers right there. It's an inline 4-cylinder, 900 cc's. But if you look up here, it's like a huge bike. So when you look at it from this angle, the tank, it has a big presence to it. It's a hefty bike. This bike is gonna be fast. That was literally just a little quarter throttle running through. But middle speeds here, it actually, this little thing is blocking a lot of the wind up to about like this level right here. So it's like not hitting me below the chest. My stomach is completely clear of wind, like pretty much like chest nipple level. From there down, I don't have any wind, and the wind that I am getting above that is a clean gust of air, again, because there's nothing really to cause any sort of turbulence. As far as rear brake is concerned, it'll lock the rear brakes. I like the rear brakes. It has strong rear brakes. This has 4-piston Nissan front calipers, dual, and we're gonna go see what they do right now. Yeah, the brakes are firm. The bike does have a decent bit of dive, just being honest with you, but it's because of how cushy the suspension is. 4-piston Nissan calipers,
rotor size listed right there. Compression adjustable forks is only adjustment on one side.
The suspension's soft. Most like upright nakeds have really soft suspension to where they have, I mean, they can cruise over bumps like it's like nothing. So it's awesome. That's actually a thing that's really nice with nakeds. They're comfortable, they're fun to ride. They have a lot of compliance in the suspension, so they don't really beat you up too much. Again, the seat is perfectly fine. It has a nice little cup to it, and I'm in place. I'm not moving. The only thing that I wish was that that cup was like an inch or two further back. And 3,000 RPMs, 4,500, and we're going whoop, perfectly easy past this guy, and that was like a little 10-mile-an-hour jump with like 2 or 3% throttle. So I don't know if this bike is tuned. I don't think so, because it doesn't have an exhaust, but it's pretty snappy, man. When you punch the throttle, it kind of scoots, and that was all 6 gears. We're still going through like the slow speed stuff.
Also, stick around to the end where we go full send on this Z900.
This bike handles really well, and it holds you in place. I'm really held in place. Have a little bit of adjustment on the suspension. I see that we have a little bit of compression damping on this one, and maybe compression and rebound, one on each. The engine's so snappy though. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's inline 4 responsive. Yeah, I'm not gonna get on it right here right now, but dude, that is intense. Back and forth. Strangely enough, as soft and squishy as the suspension is, when you hit it when you get it leaned over, it sits and is solid where you want it to sit. So it's not like bouncy through a turn. It's very stable through a turn. Oh, this bike has a quick shifter. Sorry. The Z900s usually don't have a quick shifter. This is an aftermarket quick shifter. So I gotta remember. I don't know if it's up and down. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's auto blip too. Low RPMs, it's not the most smooth, but I think the throttle's very light on this bike. But again, it accelerates nicely. Like right here, a pretty decent amount of mid-range power. It just carries effortlessly. Honestly, the power on this bike pretty much just feels effortless. Now the question is, do I prefer this over an MT10? Ooh.
Hey, you still there? Don't forget to subscribe.
All right, power on the Z900. Let's go. Oh yeah. Oh, this thing is fast. Whee! I'm catching up to traffic, so I gotta slow down. It's an inline 4 power band, man. This thing scoots. It's fun power. It carries all the way through the top end. I didn't bring it to Redline. I'll probably bring it to Redline over there. I like getting a nice little easy scoot over here and then a more in-depth scoot over there.
So the weird question is, where does this bike belong? Right? It's an inline 4-cylinder, yet it's a 900, so it doesn't have as much power as a 1000. It has a decent amount of torque. It's a naked bike, which are usually torquey bikes that have not the most amount of horsepower. So this is a high horsepower naked, but it's not as powerful as an MT10 with the crossplane and the way more horsepower than this bike has. So where does this Z900 kind of fit in?
The bike is friendly. This is that really gravelly space where you can feel all the bumps, and it filters out most of it. You can kind of hear my voice a little bit. I do feel like the power is a little snatchy when you're on and off throttle, but again, that could be like a tune thing. A lot of the times all that stuff kind of just goes away with a tune, especially if you get it tuned and flash correctly. The suspension's compliant, but it's a little stiffer than what you're used to on nakeds, I will say that much, but it's fast. This thing scoots. Strangely enough, this Z900 feels like a 600 power band with torque in the middle. Like it has juice to pull right here at 4,500, and then it pulls like a 600 at the top. That's the best way to explain it. It has the torque in the middle of 1,000, and it pulls at the top end like a 600. So it's 600 speed with actual torque in the middle, obviously in a naked configuration. Throttle is nice. It accelerates fairly effortlessly. This motorcycle makes this much power and torque, and it weighs this much. It has a lot of torque down low. It feels like 1,000 down low. In the 3, 4, 5,000 RPM range, it goes effortlessly, it goes easily. The top end feels like a 600 power band. So it pulls very strong at the top like a 600. Clearly, it does not rev that high, but it pulls that level of power. So this has like a little bit more than 600 power. I would say like a tuned 600, but it has way more power down below. So it kind of like completes the power band. It's a very, very solid package. I like the way that this thing makes power. I think this is fun, but it's definitely not beginner friendly because of how kind of twitchy it is at the bottom, because of how much power it has. It's more of a torque thing. I think this thing has like 80 foot-pounds of torque, so it's pretty snatchy down here. But right here, it's like freaking 600. Yeah, we're still pulling hard. Hard, bro. Woo! Sorry, gotta gather my thoughts after that one. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. Oh man. Final thoughts on the 2023 Kawasaki Z900. It's a solid naked bike. It is definitely for the more experienced rider that wants to go out and have fun and carry very good speed. This bike accelerates like a 600 at the top end, but it has that 1,000 grunt in the middle. So the low speed RPM, it moves quickly, accelerates easily. It feels like it kind of dies off a teensy tiny bit at the top. Not because it's not pulling hard, but because it has so much power built down low that it has like a slight level of disappointment at the top. Like I feel like it should, given how much power it has down low, I feel like it should have a tiny bit more at the top. It really should. Is it still fun? Absolutely. Will a tune wake it up and make it, you know, where it needs to be? 100% probably. It may just be like the mode that I'm in, but I feel like it's missing just a tiny, tiny bit at the top. And I am in road mode, so that may be how to do it. I wasn't able to figure out exactly how to change modes. So if there's like a sport mode or something on this, that would probably do it. But just given how road mode feels, it's very relaxed at the bottom end. So I think that road mode is pretty decent amount of power. I think that that's the full power mode on this thing, but I don't know. So even then, the brakes are solid, the suspension's solid, the seat holds you in place. I personally like the seat to have a little bit further back, my personal preference. The suspension has a lot of travel, it's very cushy, it's nice and comfortable over long distances, over a lot of bumps and things like that. The bike absorbs a lot of that. The brakes are adequate, they're 4 pistons in the front, and it needs it for the amount of speed that it has, so the bike holds itself very well in terms of being sporty. It stops well, it goes very well. I think that it has a little bit to be left, a little bit to be desired at the top end, but again, that could be the rider modes, and 100% an exhaust and a tune could wake this thing up. Overall, solid bike. Would I pick this over an MT10? I don't think so. I really don't think so. If you're timid that an MT10 has too much power, then yes, but I would think that the MT10's a little bit more fun and it carries that top end a lot better.
It kind of stands in its own category. I'm not 100% sure. It has plenty of torque down low. It feels like 1,000 when you first get on it. It's a 900, it's an inline 4, so it has a lot of reviness at the bottom and it moves very easily. But when you get to the top RPMs, it doesn't have 1,000 pull, so it kind of leaves a little bit to be desired. If you're going for this bike, I would think that you're the type of person that doesn't quite want 1,000, but wants more torque, wants more power than what a traditional triple and twin naked bike can offer, and that would make you happy, and that would kind of satisfy that itch if you're not quite ready for the full-on 1,000 naked. As always, thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, check out this one right here.